Los Angeles had Hollywood, London had its Royal Academies, but Sydney had the Southern Institute of Engineering, a place where brilliance was shaped, sharpened, and stretched until only the truly exceptional survived. On his first day there, a young Filipino student named Calix Rivera stepped off the bus, backpack slung over one shoulder, an old notebook tucked under his arm, and the kind of nervous excitement only dream chasers carry in their bones. Calix wasn't the type to attract attention. He didn't talk too loudly. He didn't boast. He didn't wave around his achievements like a flag. But one thing he had, something no one could take from him, was a mind that saw possibilities where others only saw problems. Back home in Laguna, he used to fix broken radios, redesign small motors, even turn scrap metal into working tools. But when he got a partial scholarship to study engineering in Australia, everyone in his barangay told him the same thing: "Huwag kang magpapi. Show them what a Filipino can do." But Australia wasn't as welcoming as he hoped. On his first week, during a group project, he introduced himself politely. "Hi, I'm Calix. I'm from the Philippines." One of the Australian students, a tall guy named Mason, raised an eyebrow. "Oh, Philippines? You guys do engineering there?" Another laughed. "Bro, they probably think duct tape is a tool." A third chimed in, "Relax, mate, he'll probably design a bamboo bridge." The laughter rolled across the room like thunder. Calix felt his cheeks burn, but he kept his face calm. Filipinos were used to many things: storms, struggles, sacrifices, but disrespect always stung the same. Still, he swallowed it. He didn't come here to fight. He came here to learn. But the mocking didn't stop. When he answered a question correctly, someone whispered, "Lucky guess." When he proposed an idea, they snickered, "Cute, but let the real engineers talk." When he spent nights in the lab studying, they joked, "Look at him, working overtime like it's a call center shift." It wasn't just teasing. It was doubt. Pure, sharp, unfiltered doubt. Yet every night, in his small shared apartment, Calix would stare at his mother's photo on his desk, the one taken just before she sold her last piece of jewelry to help fund his plane ticket, and he whispered the same sentence, "I won't waste the life you gave me." One day, their professor announced the biggest assignment of the semester: design a prototype for a sustainable energy solution. The catch? The winning design would be funded and presented to the Australian Engineering Congress, the biggest stage in the region. Mason smirked. "Well, we already know who won't be winning." Calix ignored him and started researching. He didn't sleep much. Didn't go out. Didn't join the others who celebrated early weekends at Bondi Beach. Instead, he spent his nights watching videos of Philippine typhoons, brownouts, and destroyed power lines. He remembered growing up in the dark, holding a candle while his mother fanned his little sister to sleep. He remembered hearing the hum of generators in evacuation centers and thinking, why hasn't anyone solved this yet? And that's when it hit him, a spark, a crazy idea that could only come from someone who had lived the problem. He designed a portable microhydro generator using minimal materials, something small communities in the Philippines could build themselves. A device powered by even the weakest water current, creek water, canal flow, even gutter runoff during storms. Cheap to make. Easy to fix. Strong enough to light homes. Calix submitted it quietly. On presentation day, Mason and his friends carried sleek boards, glossy diagrams, and expensive 3D printed models. When Calix stepped onto the stage with a hand-assembled prototype made from recycled materials, they actually laughed out loud. "Ladies and gentlemen," Mason whispered loudly, "the Filipino toy maker has arrived." The room chuckled. Calix adjusted the microphone, heart racing, palms sweaty, but his voice remained steady. "I grew up in a place where electricity disappears when storms arrive," he said. "People suffer not because they don't have strength, but because they don't have solutions built for their reality. So I designed one." He placed the generator into a small tank of water on the table. As the tiny wheel spun, a bulb connected to the system flickered, then lit up brightly. The room fell silent. Then Calix opened a second container, this time with only a slow trickle of water. Barely moving. Barely flowing. He placed the device inside. The light turned on again. A professor gasped. This is incredibly efficient. How did you?" Calix explained everything, the calculations, the improvisations, the physics behind his blades, the unique angle of the turbine that allowed even weak currents to power it. When he finished, he looked up. No one was laughing. A week later, he received an email. His design had been chosen as the top project. The school would fund it. The Congress wanted him as the keynote presenter, the first Filipino student ever invited. When the announcement was made in class, everyone turned to him. Mason looked stunned, eyes wide, mouth open as if the world's logic had just collapsed in front of him. "Congrats, man," he muttered awkwardly. But Calix wasn't bitter. Filipinos carry pain, but they also carry grace. He simply nodded and replied, "Thanks." 2 months later, in a massive auditorium filled with world-class engineers, researchers, and innovators, Calix stood at the podium wearing a crisp bearing his mother had mailed from home. Cameras flashed. Journalists scribbled. Experts leaned forward. He demonstrated his invention, explained its impact, and spoke about communities forgotten by technology because no one considered them worthy markets. His voice didn't shake this time. He spoke with the confidence of someone who had been underestimated his whole life, and had finally risen above it. When he finished, the audience rose to their feet in a standing ovation. And sitting in the back row were Mason and his friends, clapping like everyone else, shocked beyond belief. Not because a Filipino succeeded, but because he succeeded in a way none of them had ever imagined. After the event, a well-known Australian engineer approached him and said, "You're not just talented, you're visionary." Calix smiled, thinking of his mother, his sister, and the dark nights of his childhood when light felt like a luxury. "I'm Filipino," he replied. "We grow vision in places others overlook." And that was the moment everyone realized the truth. The student they once mocked didn't just prove them wrong, he changed the future of sustainable engineering. This time, when he walked out of the auditorium, nobody laughed. They watched him with awe. Because what happened next truly shocked them. Months after the Congress, Calix's invention spread faster than he ever imagined. Australian news stations interviewed him. Filipino newspapers called him a national pride. And one morning, while he was eating cheap noodles in his apartment, he received a video call from home. On the screen, his mother stood beside the creek behind their house, the same one that used to flood and leave their entire barangay in darkness. But now, attached to a small wooden platform, was his microhydro generator. And behind her, dozens of homes glowed with warm yellow light. "Anak," she said, tears in her eyes, "your invention reached us. The whole village can sleep without candles now." Calix froze, overwhelmed. Later that week, Mason showed up at the campus cafe where Calix was studying. The same guy who once mocked him now stood awkwardly, scratching the back of his head. "Look, I was wrong about you," Mason said quietly. "If you're open to it, I'd like to learn from you, maybe even work on your next project together." Calix didn't boast. Didn't gloat. He simply smiled, because that's who he was. "Sure," he said. "Let's build something better." And just like that, the boy they laughed at became the man they respected, not because he sought revenge, but because he chose to rise higher than their doubt. His story didn't end with applause. It ended with light spreading across 2 nations. And a Filipino student proving that no matter where you come from, brilliance speaks louder than mockery.